founder of the Success of Money Foundation.org. Now, we have a special guest on today who our families have a lot in common. But I got a little story to tell you, Nathan, something that you probably didn't know. But did you know that Marie Osmond kissed me?
What?
That's
Are
right.
you serious?
Marie Osmond kissed me one night in front of my wife.
What?
That's right.
Are you serious?
No, serious. Not only did she kiss me in front of my wife, but my parents were there. She did it in front of my parents. That's right. It's true.
Oh, my heck.
And there was all kinds of other people that watched that saw it.
Oh, geez.
So Donnie and Marie Osmond, which is Nathan's aunt.
That's right.
Kissed me. I didn't kiss her. She kissed me. Now, what do you think it took for that to actually happen?
Oh, let me guess. Did she pull you on stage?
She didn't pull me on stage. She walked out in the audience and looked for anybody that had a big old bald head, and I was the one that got it. So
she loves those bald men. I love it. She probably left her lip marks right here on your forehead. Am I right?
Big and gross and red and everything. I was red, all embarrassed, and my head was red.
Oh, anyway. She did that for fun. She always put extra lipstick on too, because she wanted to make sure that you had a little souvenir there on your forehead when you left the theater.
I didn't wash my forehead for 3 years.
I'm so sorry.
Anyway, hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining on our podcast and our live class today on the Success of Money Live. We have Nathan Osmond on with us. He's a gentleman that I've known for many, many years. He's a talented man. He's done amazing things, an entrepreneur, a recording artist. He's done all kind of investing, a philanthropist, and most important, he is a husband and dad. And we've got him in the studio today, so we're so excited to have him on. So, Nathan, I'm going to turn the time to you.
Well, thank you for that, Tom. I tell you, we come from a fun family, and I shared a little earlier on with some of your students here a little bit about who my father is. My father is my Aunt Marie's older brother, Alan. He was the oldest of the performing brothers because, he was the oldest that could hear. Out of 9 children, he was the 2 oldest were both born deaf. My grandparents were told that their children would be raised in an institution. And my grandmother said, not on my watch. These are my kids. I'll raise them. I'm an English major, and I'm going to insist that they learn how to speak. I'm going to teach them how to play saxophone and tap dance and everything else. But my father, being the oldest that could hear, became the oldest of this performing generation and actually the leader of the group. Like I said, I used to travel around the world and watched him perform, sold over 100 million records. He was a black belt trained by Chuck Norris. He could do anything in the world. The guy is tough. And he's just been my hero. But I remember a day back in 1985. Okay, that's when you started your foundation, right? 85, or we started investing. And I tell you that year was memorable because this morning my mother and father gathered us all together in our dining room and sat down at this big table. We all had these big back chairs where we used to have scripture study there. And early in the morning, my parents say to us, sons, my father says, I have something that doctors are calling MS. He says it stands for many sons. It stands for multiple sclerosis. They didn't know much about it in 1985. He says, now I'm not going to die from this physical challenge. I may end up in a wheelchair someday, but as long as I have you and your mother's love here, we're going to make this through it. And he said something that day. He says, I might have MS, but MS does not have me. You see that attitude, that belief system? From day one, he says, I might have MS, but MS does not have me. He's tough. In fact, here's a picture of a rock that's right outside of his house. He had this made up, and it's called Life is Tough. TUFF. Now, he's not a very good speller. No, actually, that's just an acronym that he came up with. And I want to break down what it means to be tough. Because my father said this. He says, life is tough, but so are you. Tough times never last, but tough people do. And this is how the Osmond family defines the word tough. The first letter in tough is T, and it stands for target. Go ahead and write that down if you're taking notes out there. Target. What is your target? Do you know what you want to hit? Do you know what your financial goals are? Do you know what your physical goals are? Your spiritual goals, your social goals? Do you know what it is that do you want to get married someday? Do you want to have a family? What does that look like? What is your target? Because let me just tell you this, if you don't have a target, it reminds me a lot of Alice in Wonderland when that Cheshire cat says, hey, if you don't know where you want to go, it doesn't matter which road you take. It reminds me of this song that George Harrison from the Beatles wrote called If You Don't Know Where You're Going, Any Road Will Take You There. Man, I tell you, so you got to focus like that scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz. He's pointing both ways. No, you got to pick. You got to choose a target. You got to aim at it, and you got to focus in there and just go get that target. You know what I'm saying? But that's the first letter. What is your target? What is your goal? Write it down. Number 2 is you. Understand. It's the second letter of tough. Understand what it's going to take to get you there. And understand that it's not going to be easy. Okay? Repeat after me. It's hard. Say that out loud. It's hard. And say it like you mean it. It's hard. You know why I have people say that when I speak to groups? Does that sound like a motivational speaker? But you know why I have people say it out loud and say it like they mean it? Because once you come to grips that life is hard, that life is tough, so what? Do it anyway. You know what I'm saying? And that's the attitude you got to have. Life's tough. So what? I worked with a guy that went blind. He wasn't always blind. He went blind at around 19. That's hard. That's tough. In fact, he wrote a book called I'm Blind. So what? I love that title. You know what? When he went blind, his friends took him to the mall and left him there and said, find your way home, buddy. Now that's tough love, because they knew that they couldn't just let him use that as a crutch, as a handicap the rest of his life. He had to learn how to live in a dark world now. That's hard. That's tough. He made it home. He was so depressed as a 19, 20-year-old that he even contemplated suicide. He told me this. He says, Nathan, I had the sheet tied to the bed and I had it tied around my neck and I was ready to jump out of the second-story window. But then I heard my mama walking downstairs and I thought to myself, I cannot put her through that. And it saved his life. So he decided to get tough. He started to focus, and now he's out there as a motivational speaker, inspiring the world over. Have you ever read that book, No Excuses by Kyle Maynard? Go read that book. Here's a guy that was born with no arms and no legs. And he's a football champion and a wrestling champion. You know why? Because his parents treated him the same way they treated their other children. It's mindset. People will rise to what their expectations are. And Thomas put some great expectations on you guys. He believes in you. Just like in the last segment, sometimes you got to believe in somebody else's belief in you until your own belief kicks in. So just understand that life's hard, life's tough. Then you get past it. So what? So that's the second letter of tough. The third one is called F, focus. Now, this is where I struggle, Tom. And I think a lot of us struggle with this. You know, I thought I had ADD, so I went and saw my doctor. He says, no, it's much worse. You have ADOLST. I said, what does that mean? He says, attention deficit. Oh, look, shiny things. You know what? We have trouble focusing in our world. You know, the adversary doesn't need weapons of mass destruction. He's already got weapons of mass distraction, our cell phones, our computers, our televisions. There's so many people trying to fight for your attention. There's every distraction in the world of why you should put your money over here, over here, over here, over here, guys. And you probably, if you stayed up late at night last night, you probably saw infomercials with every one of their mother trying to sell you creams and dreams and smoke and blue mirrors, and we buy because we're tired and we're not focused, we're not thinking straight, and we waste money, we throw it away buying stupid things. I just watched my friend talk about how poor people buy stuff. They buy lots of it. You know, and what do middle class people buy? They buy what's called liabilities that go and crash eventually. But what do rich people buy? They buy what Tom Painter buys. They buy assets that are going to pay them, and enough of them that they don't have to have a job. You know what job stands for? Just over broke. You know, that's the thing, is if you're willing to do today the things that others won't, eventually tomorrow you can have the things that other people can't. That came from my friend Brian Tracy. You know, I've worked with some really smart people, and I went up to Brian Tracy one time and I said, hey, can I use this quote that you have in your book, 21 Secrets of Self-Made Millionaires? He says, Nathan, you can use any one of my quotes and never even give me credit. I'm like, excuse me? He says, let me teach you something. He says in Ecclesiastes, it says there's nothing new under the sun. Where do you think we got that stuff? And the people that we got it from, Robert Allen will tell you this, where do you think he got it? And in 10 years, 50 years, 100 years from now, people will still be craving the same material because it's truth. It never goes out of style. What Tom Painter teaches here is truth. What a labor of love that he's put together here, because he cares about you, because you are his brother or his sister. Spiritually, we're all children of the Most High God, and he loves us. And if you don't know that, hang out with Tom Painter for a while, or your friend Nathan Osmond here, because you have to believe in his belief in you to make it. And you have help beyond your measure that you can't even see. That's what faith is. But you got to focus, because there's going to be every wind of doctrine, every voice and whispering out there trying to distract you from hitting your goals. But I tell you this, I believe that you have greatness within you. I believe that you can really accomplish what it is that Tom is painting here for you. And visualize that, have that target, understand what it's going to take to get you there, and focus. You know what? It was hard in our family when my grandparents were given that diagnosis of a deaf child. And then the second one comes along and they said, he's deaf as well. Don't have any more children. My grandmother's dream was to have a large family. Her dream was to be able to raise them and to teach them what she knew. I'm so grateful that she didn't listen to the experts, because I wouldn't be here today. I'm so grateful that she had 7 more children who became the Osmond family. But she wanted to do something. She wanted to take this challenge of deafness and make a difference, just like Tom is doing here with his foundation. My grandmother started a foundation called Osmond Foundation for Children of the World to help make a difference for deaf children. Well, they were approached by 2 gentlemen named Mick Shannon and Joe Lake. They came to my house when I was a child, sat down with my parents. My mother made tuna fish sandwiches, and they pitched this idea of taking this foundation and expanding it to not just deaf children, but children all over the world that are in children's hospitals. They knew that we had a television studio and that we are capable of producing great entertainment. They said, we would love to work with the Osmond family and take the nonprofit that Olive Osmond, my grandmother, started, and see if we can help even more kids. So what you knew as Osmond Foundation of Children of the World actually changed its name to Children's Miracle Network. And if you've ever seen that big balloon in Walmarts and Costco's and Dairy Queens and you name it across the country and across the world, that was my grandmother's legacy. They've now raised almost $8 billion for children's hospitals across the world. And that all started in my home around our kitchen table with tuna fish sandwiches. If you have a good idea, like Tom did with this incredible success and money foundation.org, you can change the world. And my grandmother, I got to tell you this, before she passed away, she was in a coma. She came out of this coma and she couldn't talk because she had a tracheotomy in her throat here. But she tapped my father's hand and asked for him to hand her the little clipboard with a piece of paper. She loved to write, and that was a way of communicating. So she needed to write something down for him. She came back to tell him this. And she writes this, and I have a copy of this letter, and it says, Alan, that's my father. She says, there is no limit to the good we can do if we don't care who gets the credit. Close quote. She had to share that with him. That's how she lived. She was a fighter. That's the last F in tough, because you got to put some fight into it. You have to go after it. You can't just set a goal and do nothing about it. Because if we can't expect God to guide our footsteps if we're unwilling to move our feet. You have to be tough. You have to have mindset. I might have MS, but MS does not have me. What is my target to do this, this, and this in life? Okay, do I understand what it's going to take me to get me there? Am I focused or am I distracted? And am I fighting daily for that goal? You got to put the oomph in triumph, Father says. And that's how you get tough. You know, I had a chance to take my father to lunch a couple years ago. And we were sitting at this Chinese food restaurant. It was a nice buffet, and it was just the two of us, one-on-one. And I thought to myself, this is a great opportunity for me to be able to talk to my father and really ask him some questions. So I said to my father, I said, Father, if you could go back in time and if you could see your younger self and talk to your younger self, what would you tell your younger self? And here's what he said. He says, son, he made a smart aleck remark, and I laughed. But then he got serious and he said to me these words, Tom, you'll appreciate this. He goes, it's not who you are, but who you become that ultimately matters. If that's not profound, I don't know what is. It's not who you are right now. You just talked about going to church. We all need it. We all need to improve ourselves because we all mess up. We have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, like Paul said. But you know what? We got to keep on keeping on. We got to keep getting up when they knock us down. I wrote a song about that. You got to keep getting up when they knock you down. Come on, dust yourself off and go to town. Until you give it all you got, don't throw your dreams away. When your friends start to laugh, look them in the eyes. Remember, good things happen to the man who tried. Come on, pick yourself up and show them that you're here to stay, is the lyric. Isn't that fun? Because I saw that in my dad. I wrote a song about attitude, about being tough. It's called I Can Still Dance in the Rain. It says life is sometimes cloudy. Skies are often gray. My heart pounds like thunder. My tears fall down like rain. Then I think about my father sleeping in his favorite chair. He's had so many trials, so many things he's had to bear. I used to watch him daily. He'd smile when things got tough. Yeah, he just keep on fighting when others just gave up. His life's a living message. He always showed the way. When I think about my father, I can hear him say, and here's the chorus, if this old world should crumble and if the heavens fall, I'll be sure to go out laughing. Yeah, I'll be standing tall. When the world thinks that I'm crazy, when they swear I've gone insane, I can still dance in the rain. You're going to have some rain in your life. You're going to have some challenges. You're going to have to get tough. But you can't have a rainbow without any rain. You know what I'm saying? Nobody likes the rain, but we all love the benefits of it. So you're going to go through pain in life. You're going to go through hard things. Get tough. Tough times never last, but tough people do. Life is tough, but so are you. I'm so grateful for this message here, guys. Hope you've gotten something out of it. But you can't build a reputation based on what you're going to do, said Henry Ford. In fact, you know what? I was actually cast as Charlie Brown in the national tour of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. So I've done not only country music, but I've also done Broadway. I've traveled around doing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor of the Dreamcoat. I played Zebulon for 2 years on the North American tour. And after that was over, I get cast as this kid. Y'all know Charlie Brown? Well, listen, I wanted to be the best Charlie Brown. That was the target. I focused. I understood. I got in the game. I got tough. And the thing is, I went out and bought me that yellow shirt with that black zigzag on it. And I just, every day I walked around, I put paper bags on my head. I said, good grief. I went out and I bought this cardboard cutout of Charlie Brown down at the mall, and I put it in my apartment where I could look at it every single day. And I was going to become the best Charlie Brown out there. I even started taking acting lessons. And in these acting lessons, you know, I started working on this one particular scene called The Doctor Is In. And this is a scene where Charlie Brown is sitting there talking to Lucy, who's acting like a doctor. And she says, Charlie Brown, you need to come out and just talk about everything that's wrong with you. And he does. He does. In fact, the song is called The Doctor's In. And here's some of the lyrics of that song. It goes like this. I'm not very handsome or clever or lucid. I've always been stupid at spelling and numbers. I've never been much playing football or baseball or stickball or checkers or marbles or ping pong. I'm usually awful at parties and dances. I stand like a stick, or I cough, or I laugh, or I don't bring a present, or I spill the ice cream, or I get so depressed that I stand and I scream. Oh, how could there possibly be one small person as thoroughly, totally, utterly blah as me? And I tell you, Tom, those casting directors were spot on. That was me. During my life at that time, I had literally become this kid. I was failing math, not as stupid at spelling and numbers. Everything I was going wrong. I was carrying around this heaviness on my shoulders. How many guys have ever done that? Raise your hand if you've ever carried around this heaviness in your heart, in your mind, on your shoulders. I had no reason to feel down. I just made a lot of money doing a big national tour. I just bought my dream car. I was dating my dream girl who later became my wife. I just got cast on a national tour, and I'm walking around feeling like a loser. So I got still. I needed to figure things out. So I went to the Provo Temple where my parents had been married, and back in 74. And I sat out there. There was a place where I could go get quiet, get still, and meditate and think and pray. And as I sat there in my red Pontiac, looking up at this place of worship and closing my eyes and praying and trying to figure myself out, I had the most spiritual experience. And I know this isn't a religious podcast, but guys, I'm a religious person, and I believe that there are powers beyond our own out there, that there's purpose and there's a plan, because I heard something. And this voice changed my life, and it wasn't me who said it. It says, why don't you love yourself the way that I love you? And I heard it. I even looked to my passenger seat as if someone that was sitting there had just said it to me. And I knew who it was, and it changed my life. And I realized in that moment, I had literally become Charlie Brown. I had become everything I thought about. All these things that I just sang and spelled out here for you, I was thinking that over and over again and told myself these messages over and over again. No wonder I was depressed. I had literally become this little kid with zero confidence. Congratulations, Nathan, you became Charlie Brown. But it affected me in my personal life. You know, there's actors like Heath Ledger. What killed Heath Ledger? The Joker. He couldn't get out of that role. Angelina Jolie talks about this all the time, about there's certain roles that she's gotten into, she's had a hard time getting out of. And it affects you because you become what you think about most of the time. So that's my Charlie Brown story. And I'll save this next story for our next segment. But guys, I just want to let you know that when life gets tough, get tough right back. That's the message for the day.